topic for today is going to be about routine, and this is one of the fundamental trainings that I've always done if you want to lock in that new identity. We speak a lot about identity. We speak a lot about how to transform yourself and how to develop a new identity for yourself. Now, if you want to lock in that new identity, the only way to do that is for you to develop a routine that is going to reinforce that identity every single day. Why? Well, because that new identity, it has not been fully installed just yet. So you could wake up in the morning and you could for a moment tap into a new version of yourself. Whenever you travel, whenever you go to a conference, whenever you are around people that are more successful than you are, people who are making a lot more money than you are, or whenever you're presented with a business opportunity, for a moment, for a few seconds, for maybe a few minutes, or maybe even an hour or two, you feel a little bit different. You feel a new realm of possibilities that just took place in your life, and you're beginning to see a new future for yourself. The problem is that feeling does not last too long. Why does it go away? It goes away because you go back to the same environment and you go back to the same old routine that's been running your life. So in order for you to lock in that new identity, the only way to do that is for you to develop a bulletproof routine that is going to reinforce who you are trying to become. Now, the biggest mistake that people do is that they create the routine based on the activity that they need to get done, when in reality, the way for you to construct a routine is for you to optimize for the emotion that you feel by that activity. Why? Because the principle here is the following: emotion is the foundation of all action. Now, we hear a lot of people say that men take action regardless of how they feel. That's how a man should behave. But in reality, every action that you take, the foundation of that is it's coming from an emotion that you felt. When you go out and eat food or you go out and drink a coffee, it's because you felt the emotion of hunger. When you go to sleep, it's because you felt the emotion of feeling tired. So any action that you take, even when you pick up the sales call, any action that you take has an emotion that's underneath it. So if I could construct my emotions, if I could engineer my emotions for me to take the effective action that's going to take me to where I need to go, then guess what happens? A natural byproduct of that is for me to take the necessary action that I have to take in order for me to achieve that goal. So the focus of the routine is to optimize for the emotional blueprint, for the emotional aftermath, for the emotional effect, because that emotion is going to help me take the necessary action, the effective action that's going to advance my business, that's going to advance my life, that's going to lock in that new identity. So that being said, again, this is one principle. The second principle is this: consistency equals outcome. So it's not what you do today that will change your life. It's what you do every single day that is going to create that everlasting change. So routine becomes something that is at the cornerstone of reconstructing who you are and reconstructing your identity. You never deviate from your routine. So your routine has to be something that can be applied every single day. So the way that I do it is the following. This video is going to help you create a routine for you. So by the end of this video, you should have a routine that you could stick by, and that routine is going to help lock in that new identity. So for you, this could be $1 million routine. It could be a $10 million routine. It could be a $100 million routine, depending on what your goals are. But the way that I invite you to do it is the following. Take a pen and paper and ask yourself, what did I do yesterday? And then ask yourself, what did I do the day before that? If those two answers are not the same, then what does that tell you? You don't have a consistent routine. You're winging life. You think you're going to go through life winging it? You think you're going to attain your goals and achieve your highest achievements by winging life? You have to be extremely intentional by how you spend your time, by how you go about your day. So if yesterday was not the same as the day before, at least in terms of the output and the activity, then that tells you that you are not strategic. You're not intentional. You're just going, with the flow, and that's not going to get you anywhere. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to identify what are the daily activities that I have to take in order for me to create that person. Is it working out in the morning? Is it an amount of sales calls? Is it an amount of meetings? What is the activity of that version of myself who I'm trying to summon at the present moment, who I'm trying to become? So if I want to make $1 million, let's just say that's the goal. What does the $1 million version of me do? If I want to become, if I already made my first million and I want to make my first 10 million, what does the $10 million version of me do? How do they conduct their day? I have to ask myself that question, identify those activities, and then these are the activities that you should be behaving like, not when you become that person, before you become that person, before the result, you have to be him before you become him. Therefore, once you identify what those activities are, you have to integrate that into your routine. So for me, the first thing I do is I wake up in the morning. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing that I do is I do my fasted cardio. The reason why I do my fasted cardio is because that helps me reprogram my mind. I wake up on the default program. The default program is the program that made me go homeless. The default program is the program that made me go broke. The default program is the program that made my life go into ruins, right? So that's the default program. I need to change that default setting. If I am making $1 million today and I need to get to 10 million, then the default is the $1 million program. I need to change that every single day. So when I wake up in the morning, I don't wake up as that person. I have to become that person. My answer for that is doing fasted cardio. I hop on the treadmill, and then when I'm on the treadmill, I consume information, both with my ears, right? And I also watch videos, visual videos, right? So I'm visually reprogramming my mind for my future. The same way that the same way that I watch my past, when I'm on that fasted cardio machine, what I do on that treadmill is I play videos of where I'm heading, and I tell myself, whoa, that's my future, and it fuels my emotion. It gives me all these excitements, and it gives me all these, positive emotions, because then I tell myself whatever I'm going to be doing that day is anchored to that image. So my activities throughout the day are anchored to that image, and so that fuels my emotions. So by the time that I'm done, guess what happens? I feel, from a scale of 1 to 10, I feel at a 10. I'm at 100. Now I feel like everything is possible. Why? Well, because I just moved my body. I just reprogrammed my mind. I have a future that I am resonating with, emotionally resonating with. And so by the time I leave that treadmill, it's not the fact that I just burned maybe 300 calories or 400 calories. It's not about the calories. The moment I jumped at that treadmill, on the emotional scale, I was probably at a 10, and now I'm at a 90. So what just happened there in that 40 minutes of fasted cardio is I didn't just burn the calories. People jump on the treadmill to burn the calories. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to take your emotions, your frequency, from a 10 all the way to 100. By the time that I step out, now I could jump into my what? I could jump into my content. When I'm recording content, it's usually after I just finished exercising. Why? Because my mind is clear and I could transmit this energy to the viewer. So the best time for me to record content is immediately after doing what? After I'm done with my cardio. Now, for you, content might not be a pillar. Content might not be a strategy that you're pursuing to advance yourself. For me, I'm choosing media as a form of leverage in my business. And so this has now become part of my SOP, part of my daily job. And so I record my content. Now, how do I feel by recording content? Sometimes it's consuming, but for me, it's energizing. It's energizing because I feel like I'm pouring into people. And when I do a good video, at the end of that session, at the end of that content, guess what happens? I feel at 100. Again, what is happening with my emotional scale? Is it increasing or is it diminishing? It's actually increasing. I'm even magnifying my energy even further. So by the time I'm done with the content session, I don't feel less energy. I actually feel more energy. Guess what happens then? Then I jump to my money-making activities. Now it's time for me to pick up the phone and dial, pick up the phone and call, pick up the phone and sell. This type of activity requires a lot of what? A lot of energy. Why? Because you are putting yourself out there and you're exposing yourself to rejection. Nobody likes to get rejected. So there's a lot of what? There's some pain associated with that. But to me, when I jump on my sales calls, I've already charged my battery. I've charged my emotions. And so for me, when I hop on those calls usually go pretty well. Why? Because I don't resonate with any negative emotion. Even if somebody tells me to F off and cusses me out of the phone, guess what? To me, it's completely fine. It's completely fine. Why? I'm chill. I'm good. I already know what my future is. So it doesn't faze me. So my dialing session becomes completely different than if I had done it otherwise without the activities and the routine that I just laid out to you guys. So when I'm done with the dialing session, I would spend maybe 3-4 hours. Now I've booked my appointments for the day. Now I go into lunchtime. Lunchtime, have some food, and then by the end of that, then I go into my presentations, or I have a 4-hour gap where I have lunch. I hit the gym again if I'm doing my resistance training for that day. I might spend some time with my family. I might go out with my friends for a period of 4 hours, because I need to make sure that my energy is not diminishing, right? I'm also having fun at the same time. And then 4 o'clock, guess what happens? Then I'm back and I'm running my presentation. So 4 hours of dialing the phone in the morning, and then 4 hours presenting and actually closing deals and making money in the evening. Then after that, I hop on team calls and train the team. After I'm done with after I've done my money making activity for that day, now I go out and I call my guys and make sure that they're doing good, and process some things with them. In between those hours, I might have some recruiting interviews. I might have some new guys that want to jump on the team. When I hop on those calls, it gets me even excited, because if I get a new person who is coming to my business, nothing magnifies my emotions more than when I see somebody new who's wanting to get the results that I had, or even more than me, and I have them join the team, because that is new energy that our business just brought in. That is expansion type of an energy, because it not only expands the business, but it also revives the business, because now you have new guys coming in, and they have these, they have these bodacious goals, and they're there to compete and prove themselves, and so that creates a competitive environment that brings the best out of everybody there. So that being said, this is how I go about my daily routine. Now, I didn't give you my full routine. If you want the full routine, broken down an hour by an hour by an hour, I'll do that on my school community. So make sure that you join the school. Click the link below, join my community, join my weekly lives. I give everything for free over there, and I'm an open book. That way you and I get to interact. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, make sure that you subscribe, and at the same time, join the school community, because in that school community, what I have is a 12-question workbook. This is my blueprint that took me from 0 to 3 million. 12 questions could change your life. Why? Because at the end of those 12 questions, you will get a breakthrough if you answer them honestly. If you actually take at least an hour and a half to 3 hours answering those questions, by the end of that workbook, you will have a breakthrough, and you will find out things about yourself that you've never ever thought of before. And then you can hop on a call with me and we could process that. So make sure that you jump that school community. Now, going back to the routine video. Now, what I did, the way that I laid out that emotion, the way that I constructed that routine is the following. Grab that pen and paper over there. Once you've identified the activity that you should take, the second column is not activity. The second column is ask yourself, what is the emotion that is the result of that activity? So go back and write what your routine is. It might be wake up at 5 a.m., wake up at 6 a.m., right? It's you get ready, you go to your 9 to 5, right? And then when you come back, I want you to lay everything out. Tell yourself, like, this is what my day was yesterday, right? Take this as an exercise. This is what my day was yesterday. This is my normal standard work day. I woke up at this time. I went to work by this time. I drove from here to here. I spent about an hour commuting. And then by the time I'm done by 5 o'clock. And then I go back and there's another hour in commute. I go back. Maybe you have some food. Maybe you hit the gym. Maybe you spend some time with the family. Lay everything out. Then what I want you to ask yourself is this. Now that we know what you've done, that's only answering what is the activity, what is the action that was taken, what's the action that was taken. The second column is what is the emotion that resulted from each activity. Is it a positive emotion? If it's a positive emotion, write positive. If it was very good, write 2 positive. If it was extremely good, like 3 out of 3, then write 3 positives. Like, what is the emotion that was the result of that action? If it was a negative emotion, put a negative there. And you could, if it was very bad, then put 2 negatives there. If it was extremely bad, put 3 negatives there. But I want you to start thinking, what is the activity making me feel, right? So if going to work, I feel emotions of anxiety and I just feel like, oh my God, then, I just don't want to be here. I'm forced on making this happen. I need to go to work, but I don't feel any type of excitement. And that commute, when you wake up in the morning for your 9 to 5, is all filled with negative emotions and stress. Then that tells me that you probably view yourself as wasting your time. You probably view the job as something that is prison for you, right? You probably view the the job as something that is restraining your potential. You probably view the job as a waste of time because you feel deep inside that you have a bigger purpose. That might be the case. Those emotions will tell us what the inner dialogue is, right? So that is what I want you to do. So if the commute is negative, put that as a negative. Well, the moment that you walk through work, if you're at work and you don't feel good and you're not excited about the projects that you're working on, about the thing that you're building with the team, if it's positive, that's great, put positive. If it's negative, then you have to be very honest and put the negative in there. When you're done from work, what do you feel? Do you feel excitement that finally the workday is over and now you get to go back and watch some movies or waste your time by doing a bunch of things? I don't know what the case is, but if you feel negative in the commute to work and feel positive the commute from work, well, that is also telling a story. So I want you to start putting every activity. So we have one column that has the activity. The second column has the emotion. Is it a plus or a minus, right? Maybe it's 2 pluses, maybe it's 2 minuses, maybe it's 3 pluses, maybe it's 3 minuses, depending on how extreme the emotion is. At the third column, which is where the groundbreaking exercise happened. This is where this exercise becomes groundbreaking, because at the third column, what I want you to ask yourself is, what is the association of that activity? So if me commuting to work is a negative emotion, what am I associating that with? Am I associating that with, like we just said, constraint? Am I associating that with a lack of fulfillment? Am I associating that with me, restraining my potential? If going to work, and when I go to work and when I enter the workplace, if I don't feel positive, if I feel negative during work, well, what is the emotion associating that? Is it that I'm not good enough? Is it the emotion, well, I don't feel like I belong here? Is the emotion, I feel like I'm wasting my time over here? Is the emotion, I'm not really adding any value, I'm not contributing? Is the emotion, why am I wasting my time? What am I associating those emotions with? Again, if me being at work has a negative emotion, then the question is, what am I associating that with? Because it might be the case that I'm associating that emotion with me wasting my time. Why do I feel like going to work is wasting my time? Because I feel like I have a higher calling. Well, if I have a higher calling and I'm at work, what does that do? That means it's delaying me from the goal. It's not bringing me close to the goal. The opposite could also be true. If you feel positive at work, then that tells you that you're actually furthering yourself, that you're getting closer to your desired goal. And if that's the case, what is the association here? The association is that you're getting closer to your goal. If going to the gym is something that you feel negative about, what is the association that you're associating that negative emotion with? It might be that, oh my God, I just have to go lift those weights now. I have to put myself through this pain. Nobody likes the gym. Nobody likes lifting weights. Nobody likes doing cardio, and my trainer is going to kick my ass, so on and so forth. If that's the association that you're putting with going to the gym, that's the reason why they're negative. What you need to do is change the association. I'll tell you why. Because for me, the gym has a very positive emotion. Not only 1 plus, I would put 3 pluses with me working out. Why? Because I don't view that as matter of fact, forget about me. Let's take a look at a guy by the name of Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you listen to Arnold, for him, going to the gym is orgasmic. You know how crazy that is? I'm not at that level. That's freaking insane. He views lifting weights the equivalent of having an intimate session with a partner. Do you wonder why he became Mr. Olympia? Do you wonder why he became the GOAT of bodybuilding? Because that's the emotion that he associated with hitting the gym. So for him, going to the gym and lifting weights is something that he's attracted to. For you, it's something that you have to put a lot of effort to accomplishing, right? And we've said that in previous videos. If you feel achieving the goal is burdensome, if you feel like achieving the goal is something hard, if you feel like achieving the goal is a tedious task to accomplish, that identity, that version of yourself is not the version that's going to accomplish the goal. The goal has to be easy. For Arnold, if he thought that winning Mr. Olympia and becoming the best bodybuilder in the world was something tough, then he would not have been who he is today. Why? Because for him, heading to the gym was something that was orgasmic. It's crazy to say that, but go watch his videos and he would tell you that. So for him, hitting the gym was something that he looked forward to, right? So the emotion that he associated working out with is something that was extremely positive for him. It was something even deeper than that. Now, for you, you might be associating that with pain. Well, if you associate heading to the gym with pain and your goal is to get a six-pack, guess what's going to happen? You think you're going to achieve that goal? It's probably not going to happen. It's probably not going to happen. Why? Well, because you want a six-pack, but every time you hit the gym and you work out, there's a negative emotion, and that's associated with pain. Well, in order for you to achieve that, guess what you have to do? You have to change the association. And now you have to start rethinking this, right? You have to reprogram the way that you view. So now I'm not associating the gym with what? I'm not associating the gym with pain anymore. I'm associating the gym with pleasure. Once you start doing this exercise and now you start examining what you're associating those actions with, you could re-engineer and reconstruct things. And this becomes extremely powerful because now you're tricking your own mind and you're becoming a robot, a monster that you could program yourself for taking the actions that you need to take. Let me give you the best example as a matter of fact. So for me, one of my goals is to make $1 million a month. That's a goal that I set for myself by the end of next year. Now, for the longest time, I've set that, but I never really took the action necessary and the action that is required for me to achieve $1 million a month income. What I did in recent days is I changed the association, because the association for me was recognition. The association for me was that is me proving myself. The association for me was that is me competing with my counterparts. For me, the association prior to this was that's me proving them wrong, and that was the wrong mindset. What I changed the association now for making $1 million a month. If somebody were to ask me, hey Mansoor, why do you want to make $1 million a month? The answer is not because I want to prove myself. The answer is because I want to have 6 kids. Watch the difference. The first one was about me. The second one is about my kids. How many kids do you think I have? 0. I don't have any kids right now. But I've associated that bold goal of mine, that massive goal of mine of hitting $1 million income with what? With me having 6 kids. I've convinced myself, you might not agree with this, but I convinced myself that the reason why I need to make $1 million is because when I make $1 million, I could be meeting kids that I would never have met had I not made that income. I might be destined for 2-3 kids, but if I make $1 million, that will give me the capacity and the comfort in life for me to meet my 5th child and my 6th child. How crazy would it be how crazy would it be for you to think that there are some kids that I can meet, but I'm being too lazy. I'm feeling too comfortable, right? I'm sitting on my ass way too much, and therefore I will never meet those kids. But if I worked harder and if I reconstructed my life and I actually thought bigger, then that gives me the opportunity to meet children that I would otherwise would not have met. It's a crazy mindset. This might not be something that you would agree with. A lot of people may disagree with me, but I needed to change that association. Why? Because now by coupling, making that goal with my children, my future children, now I find myself taking the action with a lot more ease, because that's something that I greatly want, because that is something that I deeply, deeply want. So that has worked for me, changing the association from recognition, from self-actualization to meeting my future kids. You too could apply the exact same concept. So what I invite you to do at the end of this video, make sure that you grab a pen and paper, write down what your routine is. Number 1, was yesterday the same as the day before? If the answer is no, and that's your standard day, then that tells you that you're winging things. That's the first area that you have to improve. The second part of it is if they are consistent, now list down the activities that you have done and then ask yourself, what is the emotion that was associated with each activity? Was it a positive emotion? Was it a negative emotion? Then on the third column, you have to ask yourself, what am I associating that emotion with? Why is it positive? Why is it negative? And that will be very revealing for you, because then the fourth step is for you to start, if there's an activity that has to be conducted for you to attain that new identity and there's a negative in it, you have to change those negatives into positives. Why and how? How do you do that? It's by changing the association that you've linked with that. So If all of those activities turn from negative to positive, guess what happens? Now you've become a machine. Now you've reprogrammed who you are. But here's the key. It's not what you do today that makes the difference. It's what you do every single day. That now becomes your blueprint, and you never deviate from that regardless. No matter what happens, that's the routine that you stick to day in and day out, 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 until the goal happens. It could take a month, it could take 3 months, it could take 4 months. Time compounds more than money ever will. You do that consistently without anything. That's called the power of compounding effect. Anything that you put to the power of zero is what? Is zero. So anything to the power of zero is zero. So if you miss a day, guess what happens? You just zeroed out. That's called the zero effect. Never zero out. Compound the activity, one after the other, after the other, after the other, and in a matter of no time, you will find that you've collapsed the time, and now that new identity is not someone that you used to act like. Now that is the person who you've become, and the goal comes to you naturally. Why? Because you are it. You're no longer chasing it. That being said, make sure that you share this video with somebody that needs to hear this message, and subscribe for more. Let's go.